Fresh Start Worlds is starting in just a few weeks, so I played RuneScape 3's version to get a better understanding of it, and here are some things that I learned and some tips for you if you're planning on playing it. Firstly, food is a massive problem. So many people want to do combat that there just isn't enough people fishing for the demand, especially high level food. Two things that you can do is to buy stews from the Forester's Arms and Sears Village for just 20 GP each, which heals you for 11. You do this through talking, so there's an unlimited stock of the item, although going through the chat option can be time consuming. Secondly, you can start off with a little bit of thieving and steal a few inventories of cakes, but time is key in these modes. Another important factor is that shops don't restock any quicker like they do in Deadman mode and leagues, so it's first come first serve. Unless you're the first person there, chances are bronze bars of the shanty pass will be gone, staffs, arrows and runes in Varrock, crafting supplies of the charter ships, and pretty much any useful item in shops that has a low quantity. For runes you can go to Port Sarim or the Wildy, and arrows you can normally get some in Rimington or Catherby. With so little GP in any new game mode, if you can find a decent way to make GP, it's a massive advantage, especially early on. I was buying high level herbs on RS3 for between a few GP and a few hundred GP because no one was ready to use them yet and no one had much GP. The 10k you get from Stronghold of Security is always a massive help, and getting steel plate bodies or legs from the wilderness and selling them is a good early money maker, but there's a limited amount of worlds in Fresh Start, so it can only be good for a few people. And there is of course the agility pyramid, which is always a good reliable money maker. Revenants can make you bank, but there will be many players fighting over them. So being first or even top 5 is huge in a lot of skills. The first person to unlock Rings of Dueling and Games Necklaces can charge a hefty price. Most players have 1 agility and the only teleports they have access to is some minigame ones, so they are highly valuable at the start. Equally in demand will be some potions and herb lore such as prayer, strength and attack, as well as d'hide, armor and crafting, and so on. If you intend to do this as a strategy, you will be competing against players using multiple alts to gather supplies and players who buy Fresh Start World GP by trading it for main game old school RuneScape GP. Whatever the GE says the price of an item is in Fresh Start Worlds, completely ignore it. With limited money, people only buy the most useful items and they pay a good price for them. Everything else gets treated like the green stuff that gets put on my dinner plate.
This one. Green.
For example, sharks on RuneScape 3 were worth 3 times the normal price, even though there was less than 1% of the GP in the game mode, but at the same time I bought a loop half of a key for 100 GP because no one was thinking about dragonstones or rune bars in the first few days. A massive amount of players will be training combat initially because combat not only levels you up, but you get GP as drops, skilling supplies, and you unlock items through Slayer such as the whip that are in high demand. If you're going to train combat, especially Slayer, it is worth killing in less populated areas than it is fighting against 6 players to tag a creature. Being broke AF and there being no items on the G at the start means questing is really useful, not only to be able to get quick XP without needing supplies, but in many cases quests give GP or items as a reward too. Waterfall quest is a quest that you can do immediately and only takes around 15 minutes, which gets you from level 1 attack and strength all the way up to level 30, and it also gives you diamonds and mineral seeds which you can sell for around 5k to a shop. Hunter is slow at low levels, so you can do Varrock Museum Quiz for 1000 Hunter and Slayer XP, which only takes a few minutes. Fight Arena, although it has some high level creatures, all of them can be safe spotted and gives you 12,000 attack experience, 2,000 thieving experience and 1,000 GP. Tree Gnome Village is similar and gives 11,000 attack XP and a very useful defensive amulet. Murder Mystery is a short quest that gives you 1400 crafting XP and 2000 GP. Sea Slug requires 35 making to complete, however it gives you a fishing XP reward that gets you all the way from level 1 up to 24, so if you have a lot of alt accounts you can gather wood and get to level 35 making a lot quicker than you could ever get to level 24 simply fishing. Waterfall, Merlin's Crystal and then the Holy Grail is a great way to unlock some protection prayers, but due to the length of time it takes to flinch the boss in the Holy Grail, there may be a queue of people waiting. Enter the Abyss gets you from level 1 rune crafting to level 9 very quickly. Hazel's Cult will get you from level 1 to level 11 thieving and gives you 2000 GP, just make sure not to pick the combat route. Monk's Friend is one of the shortest quests in the game and will get you from level 1 to level 30 in woodcutting and also gives you 8 lore runes. And there's also many quests in the core end series which, whilst they aren't worth doing just for the XP, if you're planning to unlock that area anyway, they can be very useful and give you XP lamps that can be used in any skill. Unlike RS3, free-to-play players in old school RuneScape can play on fresh start worlds, but obviously with all the restrictions you normally get. This can be a very good way to get supplies early on for your main account, but you will not be the only one. Expect places like the Lumbridge Swamp mining spot to be very busy, so try skilling somewhere a little bit out the way. The time spent travelling there will be saved 10 times over by not having to compete with other players. Playing a game mode to just make money is a huge advantage that you don't normally get in the main game. The demand is so great for some items, by simply skilling you can make bank. Here are some of the types of money makers you can do. These money makers will simply make you more than you would normally get in the main game and are fairly chill. As mentioned earlier, food will be in demand, so simply fishing and cooking will be good money in the first week or two. Gems should also hold a good price, so I'd expect mining to be quite profitable too, though this does depend on the cut that the person crafting takes. With a fraction of the GP in the game mode that we normally have, anything close to its normal price is a great item to go for, and that normally includes any type of bone. So making a low level account and killing dragons, for example, should be some pretty decent money. Slayer will be very competitive, but Slayer creatures have improved drop tables, including things like rune items. No matter what happens in Fresh Start worlds, having GP is huge. There are tons of useful items in the game, and being first to farm any of them will be extremely good money. They don't have to be the highest priced items in the game, just useful hard to acquire ones such as Rune Sim early on, Dragon Axe and Snakeskin Boots before people have access to God Boots and Rangers. There are hundreds of items in this category, so plenty to go around. As mentioned earlier, places like Revenants can make you bank, but if you build an account for it and a clan locks down the area, then you will be 2 days into a game mode with an account designed for something it can't do, and from there you will just be playing catch up. All of these methods such as this could potentially be the best in the game, but do come with a huge risk. You can quite easily build an account purely to go bossing and go for the highest priced items in the game, but no one will have close to the amount of money they normally sell for to purchase it. So whilst the best items may be sought after, the only way to get paid for them is to get paid through the main game, which requires a trust trade. You may farm one of these items and get offered a lot of money in the main game, or find that people would rather have a Barrows item and not risk a trust trade. Anyone good at flipping can make a fortune in these game modes, but the GE is not nearly as active as normal. Lock your money into the wrong items and they simply won't sell on the GE, tying up all of your money. So this is probably the most important tip of them all, and there are 3 ways to do it. So typically, just as I'm about to release this video, 2 people messaged me to say you are no longer allowed to trade between the main game and Fresh Start Worlds any kind of wealth or items. So no longer can you make money on Fresh Start Worlds and simply trade with a main account on the main game for that item. So if you were looking to make money on Fresh Start Worlds purely to make money in the main game, this is now how you're going to have to do it. You can just simply purchase cheap items on the GE and then transfer your account to the main game, which takes 3 days. If Torstal was 1000 GP each in Fresh Start Worlds, you could simply purchase as many as you could afford, then when you transfer your account over, they are currently worth 6 times as much in the main game. Finally, you can simply purchase bonds, which will be much cheaper on Fresh Start Worlds. In RS3 there was a restriction of 1 bond traded per week, mainly to stop people gaining a clear advantage. But bonds in RS3 can be used in many more ways than they can in old school RuneScape, and so far there isn't any restriction as far as I know. If this remains the case, buying bonds with GP will be a good way to transfer wealth, but if a restriction is placed on them then you can still do it, but you're probably going to get a far worse exchange rate. In case you didn't know, Fresh Start Worlds in RuneScape 3 wasn't very popular at all. It had a huge rollback because of people smuggling items in, and then after the rollback they found another way to do it again. I think the old school RuneScape version will be better. It should be competitive if you're going for one of the world's firsts, fun if you're doing it for enjoyment, and with plenty of ways to make good money. But I really wish that they would just add in some rewards so it was guaranteed.